Thanks for tuning in. Today's recipe was requested by one of our loyal viewers, Saskia. So today I'll be making Bruin Brood, or Dutch whole wheat bread. Hi, I'm Toine and welcome to my kitchen. If you're new to this channel, I focus on cooking foods from my home country, the Netherlands, and some of its former colonies such as Indonesia. I absolutely love bread, as do a lot of Dutch people. And I've already posted a video for my favorite Dutch white bread, tijgenbrood, before. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. My go-to bread growing up was bruin brood, literally translated brown bread, the Dutch version of whole wheat bread. When I moved to the States, I tried several American breads and none of them came close to what I grew up with, so I made my own recipe. This sandwich bread is great for a Dutch breakfast of bread, butter and chocolate sprinkles, but it's also fantastic with cold cuts for lunch. To make my version of bruin brood, you will need 500 grams of whole wheat flour, 310 milliliters of lukewarm water, somewhere around 43 degrees Celsius or 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 grams of room temperature butter, 8 grams of salt, 7 grams of yeast, and 5 grams of sugar. I'm going to start by sifting my flour into the bowl of my stand mixer. This isn't a required step, I just like doing this to make sure there are no lumps in the flour. And of course we use our trusty pull ladle for this. I'm going to dump my last little bit of flour in. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a well in the bowl. I'm going to put the salt on one side of the well like this and the yeast on the opposite side. This way we keep the salt and yeast away from each other for as long as possible so the salt doesn't kill the yeast. I'm going to add the sugar in the little well as the butter that I've cut into little pieces. And now I'm going to add the water in the well. I like doing these things when the bowl is off the mixer because I have a lot more room to kind of maneuver and I can also really see what I'm doing. And now I'm going to carefully attach the bowl to my mixer. When you attach your bowl to the mixer, just be careful because you do want to keep the salt and the yeast kind of away from each other until you're ready to start kneading. Attach the dough hook. I'm going to turn the mixer on low for 5 minutes and then we will increase the speed. The first 5 minutes are up. I'm now going to turn the mixer back on a higher speed and let it knead and mix for another 8 to 10 minutes. What you're looking for is that everything shapes up to a nice ball that is no longer sticky and all the flour is incorporated. I will from time to time scrape down the sides if necessary with a spatula. Today is a day with very low humidity and just looking at the dough I can tell that this is too dry and probably will not come together. So what I'm going to do is add a tablespoon of water to this and give the mixer a chance to really form a ball. So we're adding a little bit of water. So the ball wasn't coming together the way I normally see it, so I'm just helping it by kneading it together a little bit by hand. I can feel that this has the right level of hydration and everything is indeed incorporated right now, so I'm gonna put it back on the mixer and let it finish its job. There you go. The table is shaking. So I'm dusting my work surface just a little bit. I felt the dough and it is not so wet that I really think it's going to stick. But the next thing we're doing is we're going to roll this up into a ball. And the goal of that is to create some surface tension. That helps when the dough is proofing to trap the air bubbles. And it's pretty easy to do. Just use your pinkies and rotate it. And with your pinkies, you pinch the bottom together. And now you have a nice ball, and you can tell that there is nice tension on the outer skin. Okay, I'm happy with how this ball of dough looks and feels. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil into the mixing bowl and rub it over the sides before putting the dough back in. And the oil just makes sure that you can easily remove it after it's done proofing. So I'm going to add the ball, and our bowl has a lid that I'm going to loosely put on top of here. I won't completely seal it, and store it in a warm spot for 30 minutes. If your bowl doesn't have a lid, a damp cloth towel will do the trick as well. If you're enjoying this video, please click the like and subscribe button. It will really help our channel. If you want YouTube to notify you whenever we post a new video, click the bell. The dough has finished proofing for half an hour and has approximately doubled in size. I'm going to take it out of the bowl and put it on my work surface that is lightly floured. And I'm going to flatten this, pushing out some of the air into a circle. And now I'm going to fold the top half of the circle into a point by taking the right hand side and folding it inwards like that. Taking the left hand side, do the same thing. And starting at the point, I'm going to roll towards me, and every turn I'm going to use my thumbs and kind of push it back to the front. That will do two things. It will kind of seal that roll, but it will also create some surface tension. So roll, roll, push. Right? And you can see there's tension being formed there. We can pinch the last seam and just kind of roll it back and forth a few times. And the shape is kind of a log that is narrower at the ends and thicker in the center. I'm now going to put this on a cookie sheet, put a damp towel over it, and let it proof for another 25 minutes in a warm spot. The dough is almost done with its second proofing, so I have melted a little bit of butter, and with a silicone brush, I'm going to butter the insides of a 9-inch loaf pan, which is what I'll be baking the bread in. Okay, I'm going to get my dough. So you can see that the dough has risen quite a bit, and I'm going to put it on the work surface and flatten it, push all that air out. And shape it into a little bit of a rectangle. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it into a trapezoid shape, which is not quite a triangle where it comes all the way to the point, but rather just a rectangle with slanted sides. And what we want to make sure is that we fold it in such a way that it will fit in our loaf pan. So I'm going to fold the right side in, fold the left side in, like that. And indeed, that will fit. And just like last time, we're going to roll it from the top towards you. And every turn, you're going to use your thumbs to push the dough and stretch it a little bit, building that tension. And for the last one, we're pinching the seam and just roll it and place it in the loaf pan. Cover it with the damp towel, and this is going to rise in a warm spot for an hour and a half. The dough is almost done with its last rise, so it's time to preheat the oven. I'm going to set it to 230 degrees Celsius, 450 degrees Fahrenheit, non-convection. But I am going to add on the lowest rack a baking dish with about 4 centimeters, inch and a half of water in it, so that when I add the bread to the oven, it will get a good amount of steam. Let's take a look at our loaf now that it's finished its final rise, and it has gotten quite a bit of lift. So let's go over to the oven and put it in. I'm going to put the loaf over the pan with water. And now I'm going to lower the temperature to 200 degrees Celsius, 395 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that the bread is in the oven, we're going to bake it for 30 minutes. Then I will use an instant read thermometer and take the bread's internal temperature, and if it is 88 degrees Celsius or 190 degrees Fahrenheit, it's done. If it isn't at temperature yet, I'm just going to leave it in a little longer until it is. Okay, let's take the temperature of the bread. Going in at an angle, 197 degrees, so it is definitely fully baked. We're going to let this cool off for about 15 minutes, and then I'll remove it from the loaf pan and let it cool completely. I let the bread cool, so now it's time to have a taste. I'm going to cut what we call in Dutch het kontje, the butt of the bread, which is just the end. Look at that, a nice tight crumb. Oh, smells so good. I'm first just gonna have a little bit without anything. Eet Smakelijk. It is so good. The crust just has a little bit of a chew to it, and the inside is nice and fluffy. Now let's have a bite the way that we normally eat breakfast back in the Netherlands. A little butter and some chocolate sprinkles. You can see the bread is still a little warm because the butter is melting. We're going to add some hagelslag, chocolate sprinkles. And I'll cut a little piece off. It's not really breakfast time, but you know, for the sake of science. Ah, that's delicious. Chocolate on bread. What's not to like? I'm gonna finish this soon, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to share it with your friends. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll post a written recipe on my website, toineskitchen.com, and you can follow me on social media. If you do make this bread, please take a picture and post it on Instagram with the hashtag ToinesKitchen, and I'll feature it in my story and on my website. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.